Welcome to another episode of Crocs in the Kitchen.
And I'm losing it.
The podcast.
Yes.
So this is like another dual episode. So if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, you're watching the video, obviously, because you can see us. But if you're listening on I'mLosingItPodcast.com, you will just hear the audio as a podcast. So
you can't see a thing.
And you can't see us. So if you want to see us and you're listening to the podcast, then just switch over to YouTube and you'll be able to see our shining faces.
Or weirder yet, do both at the same time and see how they line up.
Yeah, that would be weird. But today, also, I like to preface, I always forget to introduce us just in case anybody new is watching or listening.
True.
So I'm Jessica and this is my husband, Brian, and we do a YouTube channel called Crocs in the Kitchen. And then Brian has a podcast called I'm Losing It, which I have kind of hijacked.
We established that already.
Because he doesn't take initiative with setting up podcasts and stuff. So I have to do it. But there are a lot of good podcasts on there. So if you're on our YouTube channel and you haven't checked that out, there are links in the description below. But who are we, Brian?
We are Brian and Jessica. We at one time weighed together about 800 pounds, 799, but who's counting? And through a whole food plant-based lifestyle, we have lost hundreds of pounds and are continuing to lose weight today.
And sometimes gain weight.
Sometimes.
And then lose it again.
Sometimes we're
weight
bad.
loss.
But yes, we are constantly striving for that goal to be healthy and live longer and be better. And we just like bringing people along for the journey.
And I'm excited about today's interview because we've got some special guests here. And the weird thing is when we got involved in the plant-based world, we sort of were thrown in, by way of reading Penn Jillette's book, finding out about Eat to Live and Dr. Furman. And then we kind of we didn't know all the other stuff. And so it fascinates me to find, new documentaries, new books, new people in this community that we can get to know and learn from. And this couple is seriously, they're just amazing. So I can't wait to interview them. So you want to introduce their names really quick?
Yes, we have the ones and only. Yeah, I'll go with it.
The one and only.
Kim and Nelson Campbell. These guys are just they are giants in the whole food plant-based community, and I am so excited to have you guys on.
So welcome to the show, guys.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
So Kim Campbell is the author of the cookbooks PlantPure Nation and PlantPure Kitchen. She develops some amazing whole food plant-based recipes. We actually tried one out last night, so we'll talk about that later. It kind of blew my mind. But she also helped spearhead a food line at PlantPure, which includes frozen products, but more exciting, their newest endeavor, which is a line of meal starter kits, which is designed to make plant-based eating more accessible to everyone. And they've also got a really, really cool mission behind it. So when you buy these starter kits, it's not just buying food, it's supporting a really cool mission, which I'm excited to get into them with today. We've also got her husband, Nelson Campbell, who is the founder of PlantPure Inc. and PlantPure Communities, which both help promote the health benefits of plant-based nutrition. He is the son of Dr. T. Colin Campbell, no big deal, author of the China Study, and who is, if you don't know about Dr. Campbell, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, he is the considered by many to be the science father of the rapidly growing plant-based nutrition movement. So get on it if you don't know about him, because I don't know how you got here. He also is the executive producer, director, and co-writer of the documentary PlantPure Nation, which you can actually watch on YouTube. So we'll link that below as well. So with all that being said, do you want to get in?
I mean, yeah, I'm just excited. This is all just sort of fun for me, especially because Jessica did all the legwork for prepping this show, and I just got to sit there and watch the documentary and watch the YouTube and make the recipe and stuff. So this is just fantastic.
Yeah, when we have guests on, we do our research. We don't just bring them on. We are like, okay, we got to read up about them. We got to watch all their stuff. We got to make sure we know what we're talking about here.
Yeah. But I always like to start things off by just getting to know the guests a little bit better. So, where are you guys from? How did you grow up? Tell us a little bit of a story about yourselves before making it big in the whole food plant-based community.
You want to get
All right,
started?
you can get started. That's an interesting question.
You think so?
You can start.
All right. Okay, well, first of all, I did not grow up plant-based. I grew up on kind of the standard American diet, maybe a healthier version of it because we didn't have so many processed foods. My childhood was in Southwest Virginia. Later moved up to upstate New York, which is where I met Kim. And my father, back in the 70s and early 80s, was doing a lot of breakthrough research. And I still remember the day that he came home, and he was so excited. We have a big family, and we sat around a big circular table and always had interesting discussions. But he came home and he was so excited because he said, I figured out how to turn cancer on and off through food, because he had been doing some research and he was able to calibrate the growth of cancer and actually reverse it through nutrition. So it was around that time that we really started as a family becoming more health conscious and thinking about the food that we ate. So in my late teens, we started phasing out the animal products, and then became fully plant-based in my 20s. And of course, I met Kim when we were only 16 or 17.
16. So when you were going through that transition, I remember that because there were still bits of meat and cheese, dairy on the table.
So when you guys met, when you met at that young age, did you actually start dating then, or did it take a little bit of time?
Actually, I think we started dating when we were 17, right?
Nice.
I mean, we met when we were 16, but we started dating when we were 17.
Yeah.
So that's very cool that you were there for all of that, all of that unfolding with the plant-based stuff. So you really, because you came from, I'm assuming, a background where you didn't grow up eating plant-based.
No, my father's a dairy farmer. My father both of our parents worked at Cornell because I lived in upstate New York. And so my father worked in the ag school, and he was involved in the extension program, cooperative extension, in all things dairy. And his father was in the human ecology school in nutritional science. So it's kind of interesting, polar opposites. So when I met Nelson, I was always interested in nutrition and food. That was sort of my passion. So when I met your dad, I loved learning about all of his travels and the research. So I kind of climbed on board partly because of your dad.
You were like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
The first thing that happened the first time she came over, he got a slide projector out and started showing a bunch of slides.
Awesome.
Nice.
The first time I met Brian's father, he was holding a shovel up to it was snowing, and I drove to his house, and he was holding a shovel up to my car, like pretending like he was going to hit my car. So that was my introduction to his dad.
Oh.
Not quite as impressive as a slideshow from Dr. T. Colin Campbell.
My father's a funny guy. What can I say?
Anyway, go on.
So then I went on to college, studied nutrition because of Colin, because I was interested in nutritional science. You went on and studied political science and economics. So we stayed together throughout our college years, kind of on again, off again. And then we got married when we were 23. Is that right?
Yeah, so pretty young.
So we started transitioning with Nelson's family. We were kind of doing the same thing. If you had asked me then if we were plant-based, I would say, oh yeah, we're plant-based. But we still had that little block of cheddar cheese back of the refrigerator.
Yeah,
we were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing.
Except I couldn't do that. I actually am allergic to dairy. So when I was 13, even before my dad started figuring all this out, when I was a kid, I had debilitating migraine headaches. And it was so bad that one time they even had to take me to the hospital and literally knock me out. It was just excruciating. And then when I was 13, an ear, nose, and throat doctor said, have you ever considered getting off of dairy? So that's actually why I got off of dairy. And then, of course, my dad's research was soon after that. But there are a lot of people walking around out there who suffer from migraines, and they have no idea that it's from oftentimes is from dairy products because they can cause inflammation in the brain.
Wow. All right, so we've got a person who's allergic to dairy marries the daughter of a dairy farmer. Perfect. My dad actually farmed soybeans, and my mom was allergic to milk growing up, so she always thought that was funny that because she drank so much soy milk and she married a soybean farmer. So there you go. So then how long have you guys been promoting eating plant-based, and how did you kind of, I guess, hearing this, realize that your skill sets worked really well together. You guys majored in different things, but you've been able to turn it into PlantPure, which is just such a cool, like, you both bring such a cool aspect to it. So how did that all kind of come into play?
So we need to go back about 10 years. Was it about 10 years ago?
Actually, while you're doing that, I'm going to turn off a fridge here that just came on.
Oh.
I don't know if you can hear that.
I can hear something in the back of the room noise there.
We always
and trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about because that happens to us all the time.
We literally turn off our fridge when we film, and it's so funny because like 2 hours later, I'll be like, Brian, did we turn the fridge back on? So don't forget to turn the fridge back on.
Turn that thing off. It's so loud. We just forgot.
Yeah,
we have done that a couple of times where we forgot to turn it off, and then it kicks on, and then we're like, but we've also left it off like overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, that was not good either. So
okay. So back to, you were going 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, I went into teaching. We had 3 children. We raised 3 children, and the last one was in high school. And about 10 years ago, Nelson had this crazy idea that he wanted to do jumpstarts in our community. I was still working at the time in public schools. Yeah. And so he wanted to do these jumpstarts. So you hired a chef, and we actually cooked our very first jumpstart. We had 25 people in the jumpstart.
15.
15. We hired a chef. I helped her a little bit, and we fed people for 10 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all 3. So and snacks. And then we did biometrics pre and post. Do you want to take over from there and share the results?
Yes. Well, first of all, I should say that actually Kim has a real talent for culinary. It's a form of art. It's very creative, just intuitively knowing how to put things together.
So he asked me to quit my job and be the chef, and I said, "Oh no, I can't do that."
But she wanted to go to culinary school when she was in her early 20s, and probably should have.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the exact same boat. I keep telling people if I'd been smart, I would have gone to culinary school and not gone for an audio degree.
Yeah, but she loves it, and she's been cooking this way for so many years and just researches and studies everything. But it actually started over 10 years ago. I left the last business that I had started, and I had this idea for kind of a holistic strategy for how we could get this message out in a more grassroots way. And food was a big part of it. So we started focusing on food first. And then, after we had created some great dishes and entrees, we put together a meal plan. And as Kim said, we had the idea that we would do these 10-day immersions in the local community. And actually, we started out, I think the very first ones in Wake Forest were 14 days, but then we shortened it to 10 days. And so we did a couple of these immersions locally, maybe 3, I think, one in Wake Forest, 2 at a company in Hillsborough, had dramatic results. We couldn't believe it because, this kind of immersion program for the general public hadn't been done before.
I remember biting my nails when we were getting the results thinking, we're going to get results after 10 days. Your dad said we would get results.
Yeah.
Was this before you were filming the documentary?
Yes.
Okay.
Well before.
Yeah, because if you guys haven't seen PlantPure Nation, seriously, go on YouTube, watch it. We'll link it below. But we just watched it the other day, and just watching the people getting the results after, like you said, 10 days or whatever it was, it was just amazing. And people were just, like, okay, well, this is the way that I need to eat, obviously. Like, there was no question after that. So Brian did get a little riled up during the documentary, but we'll
talk about that in a minute. It wasn't you guys. It was what was going on with other people.
But we did those, and we got early on, we saw that people could, over 10 days, they could reduce their cholesterol levels by 20 to 25%. Their arthritis was going away. We had people, type 2 diabetes reversing. probably over 80% of the people who were medicated for one reason or another had the option to get off those medications or substantially reduce them by the end of the immersion.
You remember the fella in the film? You guys might remember this. His cholesterol went from, what was it, like 250 to 150.
Yeah,
Wow.
I remember that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if but it was a big jump.
It was a massive jump. Yeah.
It was a big jump. And we kind of perfected that immersion program with the food and the education. And then that's what we used in PlantPure Nation.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when did you decide to start offering food through, I know you started with the frozen line, but when did that kind of come into play through PlantPure?
Yeah, so we were doing jumpstarts in our community. We were just doing lunch and dinners, and then we decided we had this idea to flash freeze things because pick up and drop off was such a difficult thing. So we decided to freeze things ahead of time, and then we got this idea of working with a co-packer in Canada and producing our own line of frozen food. And so that's kind of how that came about. We still have the flash freezer back there that we were using.
Yeah.
So
we did have, I did have a little business that we were launching before the film, focusing on frozen foods. It was a really challenging business and we were having a lot of difficulties. And then the opportunity came along to make that film. So took off about 3 years to do that. And then as Kim said, then we started taking the entrees that we had created for those immersions and turning them into frozen entrees. And so we kind of relaunched that business because the idea was to scale that, to make that more available to a lot more people. And also we worked to put our Jumpstart program online as well. So, we have both the food and the education.
All right. So fast forward to 2020. Well, did it come out in 2020? I think it did. And you guys managed to launch an entire line of these really cool meal starter kits. There are 14 of them available on your website. And they basically... they're kind of like don't kill me, but it's kind of like the hamburger helper of plant-based, right? Which growing up for me, making, I did not grow up eating plant-based at all, and my mom did not like to cook. So for me, taking out like the hamburger helper and making it with my mom, like that was me cooking, like that was the thing. And so I'm not really. Like Brian's the chef in our he does most of the cooking. I do like the prep work a lot of times. So I was really excited to learn about these kits because for someone like me who doesn't really cook a lot, this is a way into plant-based, or someone like my mom perhaps, you can really just you've got all the ingredients that you need except for a little bit of, instead of adding the hamburger, you're going to add some fresh, amazing produce, and you're going to have a meal that you feel like you have cooked, but you didn't have to do a ton of the work. So when
it works out really well for you actually, because you're the type of person that will like follow recipes to a T.
Yes.
And so you absolutely love that. So like Jessica will follow recipes, I create recipes, and so we just happen to balance each other out that way.
So obviously what frozen stuff is harder to distribute. When did the idea for the meal starter kits, like how did that come into play?
Yeah, you go with that one.
Okay. So maybe I'll just take a little step back from that because it's part of a larger kind of social mission that we have for everything that we're doing, because that's really where the idea came from. So I mentioned at the beginning that I had this vision of a grassroots strategy. It included a number of elements: food, education, wellness programming for physicians and employers, and a new social action platform that would allow us to deliver those resources to local groups who could then help undertake outreach initiatives in local communities. So that's a kind of another element of the strategy. And this is what we've been working on ever since the film was launched. We also, at the end of the film, had a call to action for people to form local support groups called pods, because the idea is we're planting seeds of change. That's another part of the vision, is having an army of people who could do this. So subsequently set up a nonprofit called PlantPure Communities to support that pod network. And we have over 250,000 people in that network now. So anyways, we have this broad-based vision. Now, getting back to the meal starters, Kim and I, just through our experiences, kind of figured out that getting food to people in that form would enable us to get it to them in the most affordable manner possible. Because again, our social mission is to build this plant-based world, working with people like you and others, but to do that as quickly as possible. Affordable food is really important. In the past, wellness consultants, and many of them have talked to me, marketing consultants, investors, they always have said, and this is sad, but they said, you have to focus on kind of the whole foods demographic if you want to be successful. I never have bought into that, and neither has Kim. We believe that we have to make this accessible to everyone, leaving no one behind. So these meal starters are an inexpensive way to get a plant-based diet to people. And do you want to maybe explain, give an example of a meal starter?
Jessica, you did a beautiful job explaining them, but you can just grab one. Just grab this one.
How about this one?
All right. Well, your analogy to Hamburger Helper is perfect, because we tell people that all the time. Because I remember when growing up in the 70s, my mom worked full time. We used Hamburger Helper, but this is the pasta Alfredo, and really everything is in here, but your fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. So this makes the whole meal. It serves 4 people. When this one, you add milk, not dairy-free milk, 2.5 cups, and then you can add plant-based milk, and then you can add any of your fresh or frozen vegetables. We made one last night because we were testing it, and it literally took. Actually, I think you did it.
Yeah.
It literally took us 5 minutes, and then we just walked away, put the timer on. But these are really, really convenient. Everything's already in there. You don't have to measure spices some take a little bit more time, but I think it gives people ownership. They feel like they're cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really cool about this, getting back to the affordability issue, is we've made 2 big philanthropic commitments through PlantPure. One is we're going to donate 1/2 of our future profits. And I say future because we're not profitable yet, but we're getting there. 1/2 of our future profits to nonprofit organizations who are engaged in our grassroots strategy through this web platform at opentribe.com. So 1/2 of our profits. And then we're going to take these products here and we're going to make them available to people who are experiencing food insecurity or lacking access to healthy foods in lower income communities. We're going to make these available at cost, waiving all of our profit margin.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Already, yeah, we want to saturate America in these communities with these cheap plant-based, not cheap's the wrong word, affordable plant-based foods.
Yeah.
They are way more high quality than Hamburger Helper. I can already tell that.
Yeah. And for a serving of food, right now, including even the cost of add-ins at the full price, it's well under $3 a serving. So it's already, for full paying customers, very affordable. For the at-cost initiative that we're going to support, we're going to be driving that cost down between $1 to $1.50 a serving, particularly as we ramp up volume of production, so that people who are who are surviving with SNAP benefits and EBT cards will be able to live plant-based just using those benefits.
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing, though. How do you get these products and the education into these communities? So we're going to be testing some pilot strategies this year to do that. And when we find one that really works well, we're going to get behind it and scale it across the country.
Yeah, that's incredible, though. I mean, that is one heck of a mission, and I absolutely applaud you guys for taking that on. So yeah, that's amazing.
I'm going to back up just a little bit because I want to explain. I mean, I'm very passionate about this as well. But Nelson has a grandmother who lived in very poor home, and they didn't have a lot of money, and she became sick, and she had colon cancer, and she really didn't get the treatment that she needed. And so you have this real passion for getting into this community, and it's very personal too.
Well, it's that and we tell that story in our film, but both Kim and I we don't personally care much about money. I think too often we become attached to our money, and we really need to be thinking more about loving relationships with others. That's where you get meaning from life, and not money. So we have a similar social orientation, and it's been a huge factor in everything that we do. Is how do we bring healing to everyone, leaving no one behind.
Well, and I imagine it's hard because, growing up, especially with your father and everything, it's like he came home and said, I can turn cancer on. Like, he knows the answer. And so it's so frustrating. And a little bit of this kind of came out in the documentary. It's so frustrating. And I find it frustrating just myself, like knowing that doing this, eating this way can help in so many ways. But it's just not like, how do you scale that to everybody? And so I think it's really important what you guys are doing to promote that, because hopefully one day we'll be sitting here in another 10, 20 years or whatever, and this will be just everywhere.
Commonplace.
Yeah. And so, but it is frustrating knowing the keys to a lot of the problems and then not being able to fix them right away because you hit barrier after barrier trying to get it out there.
Yeah, I remember growing up, my dad tried to take this to our government in Washington in various ways, and he kept falling on his face and coming home and talking. And I just remember thinking, my gosh, this is such a powerful idea, but it's a secret. No one knows this, that they don't have to get cancer or diabetes. They don't have to suffer this way. But people in positions of power have worked hard to suppress this. And this is why we need to take a grassroots approach. We get excited in our community because more and more people are learning about this, but still, when you look at the society as a whole, a very, very small, tiny fraction of people really understand the power of this idea. And that's because there are still forces who are suppressing this. So, I'll just give you an example. In this pandemic, I've been waiting, and I've yet to see it. Any of our medical authorities or our media spokespeople, people in government, explaining to the population that you can protect yourself against this by eating right. Over 95% of the people who've succumbed to this have had pre-existing conditions, mostly heart disease and type 2 diabetes. These things start reversing immediately when you eat a plant-based diet. My dad has great data from his China study as well that your immune system responds rapidly. And so, the data already prove this connection to nutrition beyond a shadow of a doubt, but no one's talking about it. So we did a petition, which we put up on this website I mentioned. Your audience should take a look at this at opentribe.com. It's what we're using to launch a national campaign this year. But we put a petition there to calling on our leaders to explain this. And I remember we did the post, and we started to see immediate traction, like hockey stick. It looked like it was just going to go viral. Hundreds of people were signing it. And then all of a sudden it stopped, just completely stopped. And it's because Facebook choked it off. Facebook restricted it. And then we went back and we researched Facebook's content policies, and they're very explicit that they ban things like this. So we kind of gave up on it. It's still up there on opentribe.com, but it can't get circulation because Facebook won't allow it to be circulated. This suppression is still happening today, even as people die from this pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what another, just from the documentary, was cool is just you just said you tried to get traction with this stuff and then got nowhere, and you were like, okay, let's just do it ourselves. We'll just start with little groups of people. Let's show people what's happening and do this grassroots thing. And so that's really what this is all about. It's like, hey, you know what? We don't need to go and get them. Obviously it'd be great to have everyone else on board, but I love the fact that you guys didn't give up and just say, okay, well, let's go home and do something else. You were like, okay, how can we make this happen? And with these meal starter kits, what I want people to take away from this is, if you're buying these meal starter kits, not only are you going to get a really good meal for yourself, easy, quick, all that kind of stuff, but you are going to be supporting this mission that they have. And that's the important part. And so you're going to be just helping fuel this and getting this message out to all those other people. So like you get to eat and you get to help people. Like what more do you want? Let's see.
What do you want to have any thoughts about that?
Well,
I said it all. Hold on.
It's true. We do have this mission. It's twofold. We want to get people healthy, but we also want to be able to provide food for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, one thing we need to do a better job of, because, we've grown up in this community by virtue of my father, and so we've seen all the people come into it and the evolution over the years. And it's very much a health-focused community, which is good because it's all about our health, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start. But boy, we shouldn't stop there. It's about also about social justice and helping everyone, not just ourselves, but everyone learn about this and have access to affordable foods. It's about our environment and our climate, the extinction of species and animals all over the place. It's also about what we do to animals. I know there's been a reticence sometimes in our community to want to talk about that, but love by definition is universal. It can't be factional. It can't be segmented. Otherwise it's just some kind of self-serving attachment. It's universal. We have to love everything, and we can't come home and love our pets and our dogs and then do what we do to other sentient beings. It's wrong. And so we have to reach out to all these different communities, and we have to bring them together into a unified force. And that hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, people love to be in a camp. They love to be, I'm a vegan and I'm for the animals, or I'm plant-based and I'm for, the health. I think we all need to come together and hold hands instead of being so divisive, because we see it all the time at PlantPure. People come in with different, and it's fine to have your reason, but honor everybody else with their reasons and come together and work.
Yeah, to build a plant-based world as quickly as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's really the purpose of our web platform at Open Tribe. We've got some projects up there now. We're going to be adding a lot more, that relate to these various communities. But we need to start integrating people and coming together to do this.
Ding.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good time.
Someone keeps texting me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I wanted to take just a little bit of a side note here. So how actually did you get started with the documentary, and what actually made you decide to get going on that one? Just because I'm a production guy, and so that stuff fascinates me.
Well, there's a long backstory to that. I'll just try to sum it up in a couple sentences.
All right.
So
2 sentences, Nelson.
I could write a book on this. So when we were getting started, as I said, we focused first on food, and we had just had a whole series of unfortunate mishaps that had nothing to do with us, but were just very, very challenging. And things like the last thing that had happened in that series of events is we finally found a co-packer to produce these frozen entrees so we could have a meal plan to support our immersion program. And the package supplier gave us defective packaging, and all of our packages exploded in the freezers.
Oh, wow.
Over $1,000 worth of food. I mean, we were having mega problems like that. And then around that time, my dad called me up and said, you're never going to believe it. I had this most amazing experience in Kentucky. I spoke to the House of Representatives, and they were so supportive. He got a standing ovation. And so I was kind of intrigued because at that time we were wanting to take our immersion program and scale it in the city of Durham, focusing on some of the underserved neighborhoods there. And so I had this idea, well, maybe we could do that in Kentucky because there's all this political interest. So I called up the legislator there who had invited my father. One thing led to another, and we came up with some legislation. We didn't ask for any money. It was an idea for doing a pilot project in a poor community in eastern Kentucky up in the mountains. And we're going to do an immersion program. All we asked the state was, when we're done with this and we show you the data, you have to agree to sit down and look at it. And if we're successful, discuss how we could roll this out across the state. So there was tons and tons of interest initially. The legislators supported it. Everyone was excited because we also said that we wanted to scale that across Kentucky, starting in the underserved communities first. So it was kind of a social philanthropic strategy. As soon as it went behind closed doors, my legislator friend said it was the most intense lobby effort he'd seen in over 30 years of politics.
Wow.
The industry got to every person and they killed the bill, even though we weren't asking the state for any money. So it was at that moment. So I was like, that was the lowest moment because, the business was difficult. I was running out of money. Then I tried to do this and it failed.
You had exploding frozen things.
Yeah, but I'm always thinking, now how do you turn a negative into a positive? So I started imagining a storyline. I said, we could walk back with our tail between our legs, or we could drive the storyline to help demonstrate to the public how this message had been suppressed for so many years. So I was at a conference. Actually, it was a cruise ship program, holistic health cruise,
holiday at sea.
And I shared my idea with some investors. And on the boat, they committed the funding.
Wow, very cool.
That's amazing.
So I went from, we went from what we thought we were going to fail to all of a sudden we had a chance to do this film. So I reached out and I started getting people involved who know how to make films, and they were great teachers. And then we ended up making the film.
Well, I'm a huge believer in everything happens for a reason and falls into place in certain ways. And so this is just another story that, because if you hadn't faced some of the aversion that you faced, that's what ignited, I feel like, some of the passion in you to keep going and really spread this. So that's just super cool. I did want to just talk about Kim a little bit. So you guys, Brian is very hard to please when it comes to recipes. He's not like a recipe snob.
I'm a foodie snob. I'll admit it.
So yesterday, so doing my research, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to watch. Kim does a live. This is so cool, you guys. I'm so excited about this. She does a live cooking show on YouTube every single Thursday night, right? 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And the cool thing is, it's not just the live show, whatever, but if you register on their website and sign up, you can get an email on Fridays, which tells you the next week's recipe. It gives you the recipe, a little shopping list, everything that you'll need. So you can prep yourself and cook along with her on Thursdays, or you can, you can just be lazy and sit on the couch and watch her like I did and then print out the recipe for later. Either way. But it's so cool of a concept because every week you can introduce a new recipe and you can really follow along with her. So this last week she made a lasagna stew, you guys. So I printed it out immediately and I was like, we're making this, Brian. We're definitely making this. And we'll show you a little bit of footage of what we actually made on the video version of this. If you're on the podcast, we'll put pictures on the little podcast thing as well.
We aren't really pasta people, and so she had to go out and actually buy lasagna noodles so we could make it.
I bought some lasagna noodles, and I was so excited to make this. And then last night, we were literally making it 9 o'clock last night because what else do you do at 9 o'clock on a Monday? And what did you say? You were like,
I said the lady's got skills.
She's like, this lady knows and it was so funny because I was there's a tofu ricotta that goes on it, which is freaking amazing. And I was making it and Brian goes, oh, maybe we should add some nutmeg. And I was like, there's nutmeg in the recipe. This lady knows what she's doing.
And that's when I knew, that's when I knew that you and I, we've got a connection. So
if you haven't checked out she has 2 cookbooks, maybe a third in the works, I've heard. If you haven't checked out her cookbooks, if you haven't checked out her show and the YouTube channel and all that, please check out the links below because I am and make the lasagna stew. That's all I got to say. Just make it. It's so good.
It was extremely good. We actually only sampled it because we portioned it out for today and tomorrow. So
I'm so excited to go home and eat that for lunch today.
It's better leftover.
Yeah, that's what you said on the I remember Nelson even said, he's like, eat it the next, like let it cool down and then eat it. And I was like, okay, we'll make it tonight and then we'll not. It did take a lot of willpower not to eat the entire bowl. I'm not gonna lie.
You did crack me up.
I'm going to give Nelson some credit because he is a tasting hound. He loves food, all things food. You're fun to feed. So, and I love to cook, but he's really fun to feed. And he'll say, well, how about you put that in there? And
well, no. She's giving me way too much credit. She has a real gift for being, I just see it every day. She literally just goes into the kitchen. She just knows what goes together and the right amounts of things. And so much of what she does, everyone gets ideas from others, but there's a lot of original stuff
I grew up in a pretty big family. There were 4 kids and we all cooked a lot and everybody did. And very traditional food. And I have this belief that we are never going to change this world if we don't feed people food that is familiar, comfortable, and what they love. Because people think that plant-based people eat sushi salad and
avocado toast.
Avocados and bananas. That's all we eat is avocados and bananas.
And actually, as I tasted that lasagna stew last night, that was one of the thoughts I had. I was like, I would rather make this, like if we're going to make like a special like Valentine's Day meal or what, like a special occasion meal, I'd rather make this than like anything else that we would have made on our old lifestyle. And that's finding those replacements to where you're like, I'd rather eat like this actually tastes better to me and I'd rather eat this, and finding the replacement for the comfort food. But knowing that you're so good with these recipes, I can only imagine how much work went into fine tuning those starter kits and all that as well, and taste testing. But the taste tester is an important role.
I can eat something and I'm like, okay, yeah, this tastes good to me. But if she eats it and she likes it, then I know that I've actually done something good. But I just wanted to go back to the video of you making the lasagna stew. It was one of those points where it's like we're literally following along and we're watching the video as we're going through it and like going through the recipe and stuff like that. And every single thought that I'm having, you then said. And I was like,
he's like, oh, fennel, toasted fennel.
Yeah, it's like, and it was just one thing after another with you that was like, this is exactly the way my mind works to put a recipe together. And I was just like, yes, this is perfect. I love this lady. Like, this is brilliant. So
he's a hard one to impress.
I am very hard to impress, and you knocked it out of the park with one recipe, and I'm now a fan. So there you go.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what you get when you subscribe to grocery list?
Yeah, so we originally started this back in April, and I was just going to do it once a month, and Nelson said, no, you have to do it every week because you need to create consistency and have people come in every week, and I thought it was pretty daunting, but the idea was to get people in the kitchen, and nobody's going out to eat. People aren't even going to the grocery store. That was back in the spring. So if we had a cook along, it would encourage people to get in the kitchen, learn strategies, tips, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've gotten kind of creative and done the lasagna stew type things, which are completely different than what's in the cookbook. And I've also stuck to the cookbook and kind of waffled back and forth. But the goal was to get people in the kitchen trying, and we've actually had quite a few new plant-based people watch the show and learn a tremendous amount. So that makes me feel good that we're teaching people how to do this.
Yeah. So if people go to plantpurenation.com, they can subscribe to her show. And then the week before, they get the recipe and the grocery list. And then we tell people to prep their food before the show. So it's all out on the table. Then you can just cook along with Kim. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I told Brian, I was telling Brian about it last night. And he's like, oh man, that's a good idea. We should do that sometime. Like,
and then I realized that we'd kind of already done one of those too. So we did a chili cook live stream, which was a lot of fun for me, but also it took like an hour and a half,
I joked to Brian, I said, look at the length of this video. This video is 23 minutes long. If Brian and I tried to make that stew and do it as a recipe, like as a live stream, it would be like 2 hours because we're like just ridiculous. Like
we like to talk.
You're good at keeping on the focus, making the meal, but yes, prepping everything in advance and having all the little, that's a huge part of it. Because if you have all the veggies, because no one needs to sit around and watch you chop another onion and all that kind of stuff. So having that stuff ready before you watch the show, you can totally make it right along with.
Yeah, I remember for one of our previous recipe videos, I had to tell Jessica, be like, I don't need to record myself opening cans of beans. Like everybody knows how to open a can of beans. I like the
action shots. It's been interesting working together on this little project that we have, because we are polar opposites, like the opposite like personalities, everything. And so I always want things to be one way and he wants them to be another way. And so there's a little bit of clashing that happens. I like to call it creative differences.
She's classical, I'm jazz. You know, it's like everything's structured with her and everything is not structured with me, and it's all instinct.
But it has been kind of cool. And like we were talking about you earlier, I think what we never realized is we've been together for like almost 14 years now.
Yeah.
And we've been married for like 9 of that. But we never realized like how much our skill sets complement each other. And so our goal with everything that we do is to try to just show people, hey, this is a lifestyle you can live, you can have fun with. It doesn't have to be like super serious all the time. Like we're pretty goofy people.
I got to the point where I got tired of all of this stuff being called a journey, you know, a journey to health, a journey to weight loss. And I was just like, no, this is an adventure. Like we are having fun here, people.
So it's our whole food plant-based adventure now every time. But it was kind of crazy because we didn't realize our skill sets in what we bring to the table is perfect to do something like this. And I think that's kind of the same for you guys, is you have that perfect balance of everything that you would need to do this stuff. So let's see. I'm trying to think if
what I like to watch about you. I watch you guys when I'm cooking sometimes. You and the
Nice.
Happy People. I have a couple people that I watch, and one of the things that you do is you're just painfully honest with people about, you're not about perfection. You're about, this is the adventure. And I think that's the key. I think people feel like they always have to be perfect and everything has to, fit into the whole food plant-based, and hopefully it does, but it doesn't always. So I think people, they fall off the wagon, they get right back on and they do it. But I love your videos because you talk about the things that are difficult and you say it. It's not like you're reluctant to share with people the truth about your adventure.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we're not trying to sell perfection. So
yeah, sometimes we are a little too honest, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, did I just really tell everybody on YouTube that, like, I'm a very like introverted person by nature, and so doing the YouTube thing for me is like, whoa, like, but at the same time, I can't pretend to be anything that I'm not, and so it just comes out as like full transparency.
That's kind of the funny thing for us is just exactly as she said. Like, we don't know how to be other people. We don't know how to pretend in another way. And so for us, everything that we record is it's literally just us. It's usually us reacting in our completely natural way. Like, we don't script things out. Like, we're just sort of like, okay, let's hit point A and get somewhere, end up around point E, and we'll be fine. The video will be great. It'll be good.
It'll all come together in the end. Okay, you guys have a lot going on. Like, you have a lot of different websites, you've got the pods, you've got the food stuff, you've got the Open Tribe. So if somebody is brand new to you, and they have never heard of you before because they're living under a rock, where should they start?
Well, we would recommend that they start actually with the film PlantPure Nation, because that kind of explains the beginning of our trajectory. And you can find that, as you said, on YouTube and also Amazon Prime as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you could just check out our various websites. We have plantpurenation.com. That's where we have the information on the food. And then Kim's show, which is called PlantPure Kitchen Live. So if you scroll down the home page, you'll see that and you can subscribe to it. And then we have plantpurecommunities.org. That's our nonprofit. So that supports the pod network. And if people are interested in joining a pod, there might be one near them. You can start a pod. It's easy to do. So that's the second website. And then the third one is opentribe.com, which is the new website that we just launched. that's kind of the integrating platform that we're going to use to launch a campaign this year, which we're going to call our Healing America campaign. And we'll probably, by the way, kick that off with the big summit, maybe in April is what we're thinking. But you can go there to opentribe.com. It's only been a soft launch, so it's just getting started, but we've already got 40 to 50 groups, mostly pods, who've signed up. So you can check that out too.
Very nice.
Another thing I forgot to mention earlier. So I have a little challenge for Brian.
Oh my.
Okay, so when you guys were on Nutmeg Notebook the other day, and I was watching as part of my research. I was watching that back, and you guys were talking about using these meal starter kits to make other recipes. And you said, I think you used the split pea one to make like a hummus and a couple of other kind of dishes. And you said you were in the process of making other recipes to put up on your website, so then when people get these packets, they can follow the directions on the packet, but they could also go to your website and find like, oh, I can make this into another recipe and really integrate it. So that gave me a little idea, and I was like, Brian, so you guys were kind enough to send us some of these meal starter kits. So Brian is going to do a video where he takes one of the kits and then makes his own recipe out of it. And then we will share the recipe with you guys if you want to put it on your website as well, and we'll post a video of it on YouTube. So
it's all yours.
I'm excited about that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Brian can come up with, because he can get pretty creative when he's given time.
That's true. But I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I would love to have your feedback on different ideas, because I am always looking for ways to cook these. So you're going to be on it, Brian.
Nice.
Thanks, Jessica, for bringing that up. It just goes to show, and we're not very good salespeople when it comes to selling products and things, because our marketing partners told us that's actually the biggest attribute, in addition to the affordability of the product line, is that you can make so many different recipes. There's one on the back of the pack, but then we have over 30 in our database at plantpurenation.com. Like, maybe you could have give an example like that.
The one that's so weird, and it was so easy, was I took the potato soup and turned it into a nacho cheese sauce.
Wow.
Nice.
A few more things, but it was really good.
And then she turned it into scalloped
potatoes.
The best
soup I had a lot of fun with. The split pea was a little more challenging. I need some more ideas on that, Brian.
That's actually, split pea soup is one of my my favorites right now. So I could go for that.
Yeah, but there are a lot of different things you can do with these, because I'm inclined to, when I cook, I'm not going to follow the directions on the back. I'm going to start dumping.
See, well, actually, I'm the direction follower, and he's like, no.
Okay, so I have a rule though. Like, if we're going to try a recipe, we do it the way the recipe says the first time. That is a given. And so, like, when we were making the soup last night, like, we followed the recipe exactly as it was written. Just so I can, like, okay, this is the base level for this. Mind you, there was no updating after that, because you did literally everything that I would have updated anyway. So that was perfect. But the one meal kit that I'm really looking forward to getting into is the Creole one, because I absolutely love I love Cajun food. I love Creole food. Like, that's my go-to.
So, Brian, do you remember which ones that we sent to you? The Creole?
I don't know.
The Creole, by the way, is quite spicy. So we kind of pushed the boundaries on the heat there.
See,
Brian will be the judge of that.
I got family in New Orleans, and so I've had the real stuff before. And so like, I'm looking forward to that. But and I remember we even went to this one place, and I got red beans and rice. And they were like, well, we make it spicier than what they make it down in Louisiana. And I was like, oh, okay. And I took it, and I was just like, I make this spicier at home.
So
like,
we'll see how.
You won't mind, but we did email out to our customers if this is too spicy. We gave them some ideas on how you could dilute it down.
But if it's not a little spicy, it's not Creole beans.
Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Well, is there anything else that you guys, I feel like we've asked you a million questions. Is there anything else that you guys want people to know or want to promote on here?
No, I think we've pretty much covered all of it. I mean, if people want to, if they're trying the food, I think the key is to share this with your friends and your family. If you want to do videos or take pictures and share that, that's great. I think the more people that know about this, the better. And that's the hardest part, is getting this message out and getting this food out to as many people as possible.
Yeah. And when people do support us, they should know that they're supporting this bigger strategy, this kind of grassroots community empowerment strategy, which we want them to get involved in as well. So we're not just interested in selling products. We're going to use those revenues to kind of support a larger strategy. But the very last thing I would say is I want to thank the two of you for, and Kim already expressed it, but for all that you've done, and your stories are very inspiring. And, sometimes I think sometimes folks kind of focus on, their brand and what they could do to build themselves. And I think, we need to start thinking about how do we connect everyone and empower everyone to carry this message forward, because you're good examples of that. You guys have done a fantastic job of that. And there's a lot of people out there like you, and we need to figure out how to
just keep that authenticity and realness, because that's what's so fun about watching you guys. It's just
Well, I mean, I can honestly say that, we're either a community or we're not. Like, we're either these separate little groups that are trying to do their own little branding and work towards stuff, or we can actually be a community that works together and tries to promote the ideals that we hold dear, and tries to promote this way of eating and this way of living, and people, I think, are finally starting to come around to it. And I'm not saying like we started anything or anything of the sort, because, I mean, obviously we've only been around for, less than 2 years at this point on YouTube. But the simple fact that we started making friends with a lot of these other YouTubers out there, and just started chatting with them, and just starting to figure things out, and like actually having real conversations with them, even if it's just to commiserate about stuff that we like, messages we get online or something like that. It definitely promotes this thing of, we are all in this together. Like, and we are a group of people. I jokingly refer to like the current crop of YouTubers out there that are whole food plant-based and like promoting this as the third generation of this. Because we've got your father who kind of kicked everything off. I call him first gen. Then there's you guys and like McDougal, Furman, and like those people. I consider you guys like second gen. And then like we're now the grandchildren who are out there trying to promote this.
We're not I guess we could be grandchildren of his father. Okay.
Yes. And so it just amazes me that like this is all growing in such a way. And we're just trying to promote this way that people can live better lives, that they can be healthier, they can live longer, they can decrease the amounts of disease that they have, and just one thing after another. And all it takes is this simple change of eat this, don't eat that. And it's very easy. And I'm glad that we're finally able to help push this along and help you guys out, even if it's just to get a few more people buying the meal kits and helping support your cause. So,
Very true.
It's great.
Brian's soapbox.
Yeah, that's it. I got to tell you though, for during the documentary, during the Kentucky legislature scene, I was literally yelling at the TV. And was just like, if I were there talking to these people, I would not be this friendly. Like some of the people who were supportive of it against like some of the other people, like especially the dude who was just like, well, we've gotten to the point where we're exporting protein, and I'm just like, and that should matter. Why? Like, congratulations. We've now exported all of our diseases to all of these other people. Yay, you win today.
Yeah, just real quickly, we didn't really think we were going to be able to get the legislation down to the floor, because we thought that our cover would be blown way before then. And then we weren't even sure if we could get the cameras down there. And then when most of the legislation is debated, most of the time in the legislature, there's no debate. It's just all formal, because they already know what's happening and what they're going to do. And we didn't know if people would say anything.
It was perfect.
But we could not have written better lines for them to make our point.
Yeah.
I actually thought, I naively thought it was going to get passed.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm pretty gullible, so I was like,
Oh.
Well, wait, what? You just gave it away. Well, you don't know maybe it is going to get passed. I don't know. Who knows?
I will say the guy, and I don't remember who it was. I don't remember his name, but the guy that I loved the most of the entire thing was when he got up there and he's like, if you look up here at the top, you'll see the word primarily up there. And I was just like, yes, you dude, I like you.
I don't know. When those lights were lighting up, I was like, what's going to happen?
Never mind.
Don't go. Yeah, don't blow it.
Yeah. So
everybody go watch the documentary.
That's just the point. Like it was at that, like all the rest of it, I was just like, yes, this is awesome. I love hearing all of these stories. But the second you got to government, like all the lights went off in my head and we're just like, no, it's like fight them all.
I don't think people really realized, they're frustrated. Why aren't my doctors telling me this? Because the film actually shared that. That was, to me, the main point of the film was that doctors aren't trained in this.
Yeah.
There's so much influence.
Yeah, watching the doctor literally talk about like how bad they felt that they didn't know this information to share and that they hadn't been, and that you want to tell about you going to your doctor?
Yeah. So a few years ago, I ended up going to a new doctor, like just right after we had started the eating whole food plant-based. And I had like some of my lab works and stuff from before, like from like a couple years before that. And when I went in the first time, even after just having been on it a few months, and I think I'd lost like maybe between 40 and 60 pounds at that time, the doctor was absolutely floored with my numbers, like across the board. He was like, everything is great. He's like, cholesterol is great. Blood pressure is, quote, perfect.
He's like, wait, you're over 400 pounds still.
Over 400 pounds. And yet like all of my numbers basically suggested I was a perfectly healthy individual. But the cool thing about it, though, is that my doctor actually knew all of this stuff, and he totally has followed plant-based diets and stuff like that before, and so he does promote that.
Well, when you went back last year,
yeah, and then when I went back again, I told him about like all the YouTube stuff because we hadn't started the YouTube channel when I went and saw him the first time. And then he actually said, he's like, oh, I'm going to totally start referencing your YouTube channel to my patients. And he said like for some kind of conflict, though, he couldn't tell them that I was his patient and like that kind of stuff.
But he was definitely impressed with his numbers. And he's like, just keep doing whatever you're doing. But like my doctor, on the other hand, just keeps saying, are you drinking enough water? Make sure you're drinking enough water. Like, what are you eating again? I'm like, yes, I drink water. Okay. She's like, I don't know what you did, but you lost like 100 pounds. So, okay, cool. But yeah, that is a huge problem. And I always tell people, like, I've never realized how much of an advocate you have to be for your own health when you go to the doctor. And it sucks, but like you can go to a doctor and be like, I want to do this. And they'll be like, oh, well, my doctor for years gave me the little, here's the diet you should be eating. It's the standard little packet that they give you, which has nothing to do with plant-based or anything. And yeah, it's a huge, huge problem. So, all right. Should we close this one out?
Yeah, I guess we should.
I feel like we could just keep talking forever.
We could. You guys are awesome.
I know. I will say, I think my favorite thing about you guys is just the passion that you bring to this. And like, you can tell that you guys are both genuinely in this, for the right reasons to try to spread this movement and not for your own personal gain or anything like that. And that to me, like, that is the coolest thing ever.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Brian. Thanks for having us on your beautiful show. We're happy to be here.
All right, you want to do the close?
Yes, since we needed to record it again after doing it the first time.
If you listen to the podcast, you'll see a different close than this one because we kind of botched the video as you guys just saw. So
yeah, sorry about that.
It was Peep's
technical
fault.
Difficulties. But subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already and click the bell notification that is right next to it. Also, like we said before, everything linking to these people will be down in the description below. So click on everything, join all their groups, buy all their products, do all that kind of fun stuff, support their cause, because trust me, it is worth it, because they are doing so much out there for so many people, and they
are the real deal.
They are the real deal. But you can find us on social media, mainly Facebook and Instagram. You can message us on there because we do really, really enjoy that. And you can catch us on there for lives and all sorts of fun stuff. But you can also like and share the video, get this message out to more people, and hopefully not only, grow our channel, but grow all of their stuff as well. But
yes, definitely subscribe to their YouTube channels.
Yes,
seriously, their videos. Yes, perfect.
But I think that's all I got.
That's definitely all I got.
The second time. We will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen. Bye.